Because you're doing what, like 50,000 a month right now, or more or less?
So last year I wrote right under 600,000.
Huge.
Like I tell agents all the time, man, you can do this part-time. You can't start this part-time. Like I could work part-time right now and still make more money than most other agents. Like I won't even break 20 calls sometimes, but I got 2, 3 deals in.
If somebody's like first year in wanting to do that, like what's the lead investment look like, the schedule, and talk through that a little bit.
You need a mentor, dude. I fumbled around. I maxed out credit cards. I didn't make money for the first 90 days. That all could have been avoided if I reached out to someone and they're like, I want to do this. I need help. There's no magic.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Life Insurance Telesales Mastery Podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Nitafan, and in today's interview, we have a top telesales final expense producer coming in from, you said Oregon, right?
Oregon, man. Portland, Oregon.
Oregon. Let's go, man. Dude, what really caught my eye is that I saw you you obviously been doing final expense for a little bit now, and obviously that's what I do, and a lot of the people watching do as well, especially telesales. And so I wanted to get inside your mind, pick your brain a little bit, and hopefully share some good insights on how to be a top telesales, especially final expense producer, man. So, why'd you choose final expense specifically?
I didn't choose it, man. I accidentally just kind of fell into it after working inside of a call center for 10 years, selling under 65 health insurance.
Oh,
So
okay.
I ended up, yeah. So I got to the point where I'm like, dude, I need a change. I got to do something else. I got to try this on my own, which I left that agency to give it a shot on my own. It was kind of a big step, big risk for me personally, because that's all I knew as a health insurance agent. And started using health insurance as a door opener to sell term life
Mm,
out on my own.
yeah.
And just to, obviously make a little bit more money outside of just the health insurance sale. I used the term life insurance to sell that built-in critical illness, right? The cancer, stroke, heart attack. And, did okay, but accidentally fell into a final expense sale. And when I made that sale, I was like, oh my gosh, this couldn't get any easier. I was like, I instantaneously fell in love with that product because I don't know if you know anything about health insurance
Yep.
sales. A lot of moving parts, man, a lot of service work, a lot of follow up, and it's a lot, dude. Like I know guys that can, that are killing it in that space. But I got to the point where I was just getting burnt out. And as soon as I made that final expense sale, I was like, oh my gosh, I got this, dude. It was simple. Like the guy was looking for 10 grand, did the app. I got paid right away. He got covered right away. No service work, no follow-up. I mean, I'll follow up with him, whatever, annual review or whatever, but that was it. And I could move on to the next one, like within less than an hour. And
Yeah.
it just kind of clicked for me. I'm like, I didn't even know about it, dude. I was in this space for a decade, over a decade, and I didn't even know the final expense thing existed. I didn't know about the product. I knew about, term, universal life, whatever, traditional whole life.
Yeah.
So like, what if I go out there and buy a ton of final expense leads and just do this? And that was my plan. I'm like, I'm gonna kill it, dude. I'm just gonna absolutely destroy it because I was already good at this one thing, health insurance. I was producing at a pretty high level for years,
Yeah.
but crashed and burned the first few months selling final expense. I mean, it was just embarrassing. I was like, man, is this, even as a high producer, I had a lot of doubt. I was like, man, how do I? Over time, I made it work. But yeah, it was a tough transition. But even to this day, man, I fell in love with it just because of the simplicity of the sale.
Yeah, for sure, man. Let's talk about that like at first, because I feel like that's a common denominator in terms of like when somebody comes into the business, obviously you see a lot of commissions that you can make up front, which is dope, but then it's really challenging at times to be able to find good leads or find leads, whatever it is, and then you have to go into debt. And so that was my experience, like going $15,000 maxing out credit cards as a life insurance agent. Like talk about your experience there, and then also like how you were able to get out of that.
Well, I outproduced it, man. Like I'll tell you my experience. Like I did go into debt. I put everything on credit cards. I was like, man, because I had felt so confident in that one final expense sale. I'm like, okay, I can do this at a high level. It's quick. And so I just went all out. But first month I didn't make any money. Second month was rough. Third month, I started to see a little bit of traction, but I got to the point where I had so many leads because I kept buying more and more leads. So I was like, man, I can do this. And I got to the point where I had so many leads where I didn't even, I had so many leads in the pipeline that I had leads that were a month old now, 2 months old, 3 months old leads. I wasn't even able to get a hold of or get contact with, or even have a chance to pitch yet. Maybe somebody hung up on me or whatever, and or the call got disconnected or whatever. I still didn't have that. I was like, okay, I have all these leads. How do I go? I spent all this money on leads. I'm not going to give up on a lead.
Yeah.
So what I did end up doing was, I hammered out the older leads. And that's where the magic really started to happen for me because, well, first, you find out that, oh, they already purchased. I'm gonna, thanks for calling, click, right? And so I started to use a little bit of a different approach because I knew that objection was coming in. And so I would lean into that objection initially, right? I just completely used a different approach that first 30 seconds of the call, because if you can't nail down that first 30 seconds of the call, you're going to get hung up on, which is
Yep.
probably the number one problem for any telesales agent, right?
Yep.
And so I started to lean in that objection, knew that it was coming, and that's where it really worked. It really started to change for me because not only was I closing new leads, but I started closing older leads as well. And that's where my conversion started to go through the roof. Like if you're a good agent, your conversion, what's 20-25%. Dude, if you work the leads the right way and you never give up on a lead, dude, I got a file here that I literally have a file that says cuss me out. Right. I will call back that person. And unless you tell me, dude, do not call me, put me on the do not call list. Okay, good, fine. But if you cuss me out, hang up, dude, I'm calling you back. And I'm going to call you back a month later and you probably won't even remember me because you were probably having a bad day. Right. I mean, that's just the reality. And people have bad days. People get angry because you got 10 other agents calling in.
Yeah.
But guess what? If I'm calling you back 2 months later when nobody else is calling, and I use a little bit of a different approach versus just like, hey, I'm calling you back on the inquiry, your conversion is gonna double. And that's
Yeah.
exact.
How are you going about that like different way of like being able to like get them still on, like keep them on the phone?
So all I'm trying to do, man, is move the needle in that first 30 seconds of the call, first minute of the call. I'm not looking for a Hail Mary. I'm just looking to keep them on the phone. And really, I'm doing that throughout the call. So for me personally, like I'll just use a different approach. I try to sound familiar. Hey, this is Roman, the life insurance guy, right? I try to sound familiar, even if I haven't talked to them before. Dude, I'm not gonna say this is Roman Koval, dude, hey, this is Roman, the life insurance guy, nice little upbeat tonality. And then I'm going to lean into that objection. I'm going to say, hey, I'm assuming you already picked out a plan, right?
Yeah.
I know that objection's coming. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thanks for calling. Click, right? That's what
Yep.
they're going to say next. I'm always going to come back with the question, hey, a specific question? Hey, did you happen to go through a big brand name company, something like Mutual Omaha or Transamerica, something that's been around for a long time, something that people recognize? Because most people haven't heard of some companies like, Sons of Norway or, Royal Neighbors or Sentinel or, there's a lot of these other carriers that nobody's ever heard of. But people have heard of Mutual Omaha or Transamerica. And a lot of times that will grab their attention. Well, no, I didn't go with Mutual Omaha. Oh, really? Well, they're the best price plan in your area. If you're looking for $5,000 or $10,000 of coverage, is that kind of the range of coverage you're looking for?
Yeah.
And that word track really worked well for me because, and I know they're looking for, obviously they're looking for $5,000 or $10,000 of coverage. They're all looking for that amount of coverage. I'm just looking for a yes from them. Give me a yes. I want to hear that. Yes, yes. That's what they're looking for. Okay, well, that's Mutual Omaha is going to be the best price plan if you're looking for that amount of coverage. I know I'm calling a little late, but if you might be interested in a much better price plan, I can still definitely help. That's a very short version of of that intro. But that's what started to work really well for me. I just shortcut the entire conversation to, hey, I know you already purchased. I know you already purchased. Did you happen to go through this big brand name company that's the best price plan in your area for the amount of coverage you're looking for? And if you didn't, I can still definitely help you. And they're interested instantaneously. Why? Because It's final expense. And if they can save 10, 20, 30, 45, $50, they're going to be interested.
Yeah.
Um, and so again, I'm moving the needle, dude. I'm not looking for a Hail Mary off the bat. I'm just trying to move the needle
Yeah.
in the
That's huge,
conversation.
man. And I think like what I'm realizing too is that leads are not worked enough. It's easy to give up on the lead and easy to disqualify, but like even if they don't answer. And so, dude, talk about your follow-up process because you're obviously like converting at a really high rate on not only new leads, but also older leads and being able to build that pipeline huge and have a big pipeline of people who've already come in and then current clients and all that, like all this stuff builds. But like, how do you follow up with these people or kind of what's your mindset behind that as well?
Yeah, my mindset, man. Like you said, you don't leads don't get worked like they should. I will never give up on a lead, man. I'll just, whatever you've hung up on me, I have the mindset is, I triple dial every lead. You have to,
Yeah.
especially today. And dude, I have folders. I have contact made, contact attempted, hung up, cussed me out, follow up, pitched. Like I have folders in my CRM, and I will go through that folder over and over and over again until you tell me do not call. Okay, and then but yeah, man, I'm not gonna give up on you just because you're having a bad day.
Yeah.
I'll call you months later.
How many dials are you making a day?
Right now, less than I ever have been, just because again, the pipeline is so full, man. Like you get to the point, like I tell agents all the time, man, you can do this part-time, you can't start this part-time. Like I could work part-time right now and still make more money than, most other agents because again, the pipeline is so full. Like I can go through 20, like I won't even break 20 calls sometimes, but I got 2, 3 deals in.
How
Versus
is
if
that? Like, is that just from like current clients, past clients, all that, and just kind of going through that or annual reviews and stuff like that? Or
it's it's through calling an older lead that hasn't purchased yet, something on the calendar with a combination of a new lead, selling a new lead with a combination of something on the calendar, or maybe a referral coming in. But starting out, dude, that's never gonna happen. It's impossible.
yeah, so when you're
Starting
starting
out,
out, like what did that look like when you were really building this up?
I was dialing 150 dials a day. I'm pretty sure at one point I was, and this is click to dial. This wasn't an auto dialer, dude. I was literally manually dialing 150 calls a day.
Are you using
So
Kixie or what kind of dialers are you using?
I don't use any dialers, man. I use a dialer. I use click to dial. I use because I haven't seen what's out there right now, but I use Truly. Truly, I was grandfather. I'm now grandfather into their dialer because they no longer offer. They only work with bigger agencies, bigger companies, but I still have their individual account. But it's what I love about Truly, and if you can find there's other VoIP apps out there they're similar to Truly. What I love about Truly is the local call presence, and that's another
Yeah.
big difference. That's another game changer that helped me because I'm licensed in over almost 50 states, man. So you need it's nice when you see a local number pop up on their end, so they pick up the phone. And I'm still tripling down, and sometimes they still don't pick up. I think local call presence is key. So I don't know what else is out there, man. I know I know guys that are using power dialers or auto dialers, and you're calling 3 leads at a time.
Yeah.
Um,
The main thing we
so
work, well, like I work and the guys that I work with use is Kixie. Kixie does the same thing. The reason why we use them is because the local presence, same thing. We saw a huge increase in conversion with that, which is dope, right? Like 5 times less dials to be able to still make sales, which is awesome. Um,
Kixie, how
so
do you spell that?
Kixie, Kixie.
Okay, interesting. Okay, got it.
Yeah, that's a good dialer to be able to use. It's expensive, but honestly, like it's worth it. It's worth every dime. And so like all the guys that I use, especially like all the guys that I work with are selling telesales, they're all crushing it with that. So um
Okay, wow.
yeah.
Okay.
So you're obviously getting the pre-booked appointments now. You're working new leads. Talk about like, okay, if somebody, because you're doing what, like 50,000 a month right now, or 40, 50,000 a month, or more or less?
So last year I wrote right under 600,000.
Huge. So like about 50,000 a month, which is dope. Um, Talk about like if somebody were wanting to replicate that, what does a schedule look like to be able to do that? And then also, what's like a if somebody's like not at the spot you're at where they're starting to see the effect, but like if somebody's like first year in wanting to do that, like what's the lead investment look like as well as the schedule, and talk through that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean the 12-month thing, man, I think is key. I was listening to, and I talk about this all the time. You want to give yourself 12 months, a year. I was listening to Patrick about David, one of his talks, and he's like, dude, if you're in this business, you need to give it 5 years. I'm like, whoa, 5 years. I'm telling people 1 year, dude. This guy's telling people 5 years, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe that's what it takes now. I don't know, but give yourself a year. And yeah, you need to. Here's the way I look at it: the lead investment. You got to know how to convert. You got to know how to close, because otherwise you're going to run out of money. You're going to get burnt out. So, but if you do it the right way, if you do it right, you should only have to invest that amount of money, like whatever it is, $1,500, $2,000 one time, right? You invest it one time, you return, let's say 5, 6,000, you take that 1,500, reinvest and keep going. I did it the wrong way, man. I really did. Like I just kind of you need a mentor, dude. Like I fumbled around. I maxed out credit cards. I didn't make money for the first 90 days. And that all have could have been avoided if I reached out to someone and be like, dude, I need help. I want to do this. I need help. And that was probably just it's a massive mistake on my end because it was stressful. So if you do it the right way, let's say you take that 1,500 and you make six back, take that 1,500 and reinvest, keep reinvesting, and you should only have to spend that initial 1,500. If you want to scale, dude, this is simple business. Take a little bit more money, take 2 grand a week, and you can start to scale into some of these bigger numbers, 100, 150, 250,000, 300,000
Yeah. So
per calendar.
yeah, for you, like you're recommending like 2,000 to 2,500 bucks a week or so to be able to do that, like 50,000 a month, or what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, dude, I've spent as much as 10, 12,000 a month to hit some of the 40,000 or 50,000 numbers. Um, but again, man, like with the way it's not going to be, you're not going to be doing that forever if you work the leads the right way. If you never give up on a lead. Most agents are like, oh man, I gotta keep getting fresh leads, which is true to an extent, but dude, there's a lot of opportunity in an older lead.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting, dude, because um we definitely have a different intro for the aged leads. But what I've seen is that with aged leads, and maybe the using your approach would definitely be helpful for the guys that we're working with, is like going about it with that intro, because aged leads, it just seems like not many people are actually answering the phone. But I know that there's money in that follow up. You just hammering those or what?
Yeah, and just to be clear, I'm not talking about like going out there and buying 25-cent age leads because I'm not a fan of those.
Yeah.
Those I don't know if those work for anybody unless you throw 5,000 of those leads into an auto dialer and just hammer them out that way. But I'm talking about buying a high quality lead. You're spending whatever, 25, 20 bucks, 30 bucks per lead. And then they sit there. Like I was, dude, I was at one point, I don't do this anymore, but at one point, like I would just buy a lead and just sit on it and just like call it 2 weeks later, just to be able to sound different, just to be able to use that approach. Hey, this is Roman, the life insurance guy. I know I'm calling a little late. I'm assuming you already picked out a plan, or have you picked out a plan yet? I mean, dude, that sounds so much better than, hey, it's Roman. I'm getting back to you on the online inquiry you just made. And I'm like, dude, everybody's everybody says the same thing initially, and you're fighting six other agents. So yeah, man. And sorry, I know I'm going off here. What was the original question?
No, the original question was like what we've seen is like when you're calling the aged leads, they've been called so many times that they just don't answer.
Yeah, and again, just to be clear, like I said before, I'm not an advocate for real age leads where you're spending
Yeah.
25. You still want a quality lead. But my point is, don't give up on it if you haven't been able to get hold of it. Don't give up on it, even if you pitched it and they said no, dude. I'm gonna call it back unless you tell me that you did put me on the do not call list, dude. I pitched you, you said no. I'm gonna put you away in a rainy day file. I'm gonna call you 3 months later because I don't know. Maybe your coverage lapsed. Maybe you're not happy with the plan that you purchased. Maybe you had a bad day. Maybe you didn't want to talk to anybody. There's so much opportunity there, even if they told you no, even if you pitch them. I got a pitch file. I pitched them. They said no. Good. I'm going to call you back in 2 months.
And what's your approach on calling those people you already pitched? Just brand like pretty much just the age leads, like because they
Hey,
probably forgot about it.
oh, totally, dude. No, that to me, I get more excited on that type of lead versus a brand new lead because now I have some small rapport, even if they don't remember me. I get to say, with all honesty, hey, this is Roman. I spoke with you last month. You ended up going with this plan you told me about. You were looking at this plan. Did you end up keeping that plan you were talking about? Did you end up getting anything? I mean, dude, that's so much more powerful than starting from the very beginning. And there's so much opportunity there.
Yeah. That's interesting. Because it I was talking with a bigger agency owner yesterday, and he said 50% of their sales are coming from like, and this is outbound digital Facebook leads. Their their 50% of their sales are coming after 15 days. And so there's money in there. But what I'm seeing is that we're generating the leads and then 15, 20, 30 days later calling them again and then having to go 300-400 dials to be able to get people even to pick up and present to. And so maybe the approach is wrong there. Is from what I'm hearing. I think we should definitely use the approach that you got.
I mean, yeah, for sure, dude. I mean, like, if out of, let's say, 200 dials, I would say you should be able to have just rough numbers, maybe 40 presentations. Out of those 40 presentations, you should be able to close 8, 10 deals. I mean, at least using that type of approach. I mean, those are the really rough numbers, but yeah, man. I mean, I don't know what what the script looks like or anything like that, but yeah, you got to sound a little bit different. I mean, you know this.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's good. So, um, I like it, man. So I guess like the common thing that I hear a lot is like I want to find the magical lead. Talk about that, like your experience of like being in this business. You've worked a ton. You've like worked with tons of different lead vendors. Like, what's your mindset on just like leads in general?
Dude, after working inside of a call center for 10 years, I mean, I felt like I didn't spend any money on those leads. And I just had inbounds coming in. We had outbound, inbound. And I later, initially, in the first few years of that working at the call center, I thought, man, these leads are so bad. These leads suck. What if I just wish the guy I worked for would spend more money on these leads. And after a number of years of being inside that call center, you get some, you get to understand that, and they're spending a lot of money on leads. I mean, dude, like we were spending our call center agency. I mean, they were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on leads. And I was like, dude, there's no magic. These guys are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on leads and they still suck. Like, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
just, you still had to go through. I mean, yeah, dude, it's a numbers game to an extent, but there's good and bad lead vendors. But ultimately, man, I no longer judge a lead by anything, man. Unless it's like a crappy 25-cent age lead, well, yeah, dude, I'm not gonna call that. But dude, if you're charging me, if you're charging me 15, $20, at least that per lead, I'm not gonna look at, and again, you're not some guy working out of your mom's basement. I'm really not gonna judge that lead vendor, dude. I'm gonna work it like any other lead because there is no magic lead. It just doesn't exist unless you have your own, internal, I don't whatever. You got your own website, you got your own call center or whatever. Otherwise, if you're buying leads, uh, they're all the same.
Yeah. And you do 40 to 50,000 a month outbound, right? Like just strictly outbound?
It's all up.
What why
Yeah,
why
totally.
outbound versus
I'm
inbound? I know we were talking about that a little bit, but like what's kind of your thought process behind that?
just because I can have way more control in that first 10 seconds, 30 seconds of the call versus a live transfer. Okay, well, if they're calling in, I feel
Yeah.
like I'm at, especially if it's being transferred from a screener or some other call center, I'm already fighting an uphill battle because now they've talked to someone else. I don't know what that conversation looked like. Maybe, again, I know that I'm going to be able to do a better job in that first 10, 30 seconds of the call than anybody else transferring that call over.
Yeah. I like that, man. I really believe in terms of like being able to scale, it's the outbound side. And if you get really good at that, dude, you're always gonna have a job. That's for sure. Um, there even if hypothetically if life insurance were to go away, you're still gonna be able to do outbound somewhere else, still make a ton of money doing it, man, which is awesome. So what is your follow-up sequence look like after you close the sale? They get approved on a policy. Like, what's your follow-up sequence look like after that to be able to retain
So
them?
also, yeah, so I use a service called onthebooks95.com. So they'll send out postcards, thank you card, happy birthday, thank you card, congratulations card, referral card, and they're handwritten cards. And they get sent out at key times initially, and they get sent out at key times during the year throughout the year. Happy birthday, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year's, whatever.
Wow.
And people love them. I mean, like I got one actually right here. It looks like I wrote it. I mean, I didn't write it, dude. Like people are like, "Oh my gosh, you sent me a handwritten card." And it's nice, man. It's a little you're spending a little bit over $3 with 325 a card.
That's so worth it,
But
though,
I
I
mean,
feel like.
absolutely, man. And people love it, man. They're like, "Oh my gosh, this guy actually, remembers me." And you'll get referrals out of these things too. It is worth it. You'll spend 15, $16 per client, but yeah, it's worth it.
Throughout the year?
So yeah, you'll pay that initially for the cards that are going to be sent out through the entire year.
Yeah. Man, that is awesome. Because have you ever used send out cards?
Send out? No.
Okay, so send out cards is something that we've used, but it's not as much of an automated service. You build out the card and you send them out. It's like $1.50. So we've been using that right when they close, and it's like should get there within 1 to 3 days, just to like reinforce their decision, know that they actually have something tangible before the policy gets out. But I really like this, and so is this mainly an insurance type thing to be able to help with?
It is. Yeah. It's designed around insurance.
Oh, wow.
So yeah,
So okay.
oh,
Yeah,
go ahead.
so you obviously have that, which is huge. What other things are you doing to be able to keep people on the books for the whole like 9 to 12 months?
I'll check in like on my weekends, man. I'll do the annual review thing. I'll just check in, see how they're doing. Like I'm manually calling out.
Yeah. Do you set a time for that or like with them, or you just call with when their policy date's coming up?
No, I put them on the calendar for the following year on their anniversary date.
Gotcha. And you just review it, see if they want to add
Review it.
coverage, whatever.
Yeah, add coverage, whatever. Let's say they have a waiting period plan. Let's say, I mean, I'm always working with, seems like there's always new plans, new carriers coming out. I love the new SBLI product. I mean,
Yeah.
it's relatively new, but stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, man, it's worth it. You have to follow up, put them on your calendar for the year and see if there's there might be opportunity there, not just for yourself, but like to actually help out the client.
Yeah,
Example, they have a 2-year waiting period. Now you can get them off the waiting period.
it's huge. Um,
Yeah.
so you obviously have that. Do you have any automated texting or anything that goes out as well, or is it just that?
Dude, that's it, man. Like people make fun of me, man. Like I got my one buddy that just absolutely makes fun of me because I'm like stuck in the dinosaur age, man. I don't have anything automated, and I probably should at this point. But I'm so locked in the way I do things. But yeah, automation. I mean, I know it's powerful, especially with there's so much AI out there now. But I don't have any automation other than the postcards.
Yeah.
That's it.
So are the how many referrals are you getting? Like, are you getting a good amount of referrals, like from past clients, or not as much?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair the cards help. Um, I mean, I would say I'm getting, I don't know, man, under 5 referrals per month.
It's still a decent amount, man.
Yeah, I mean, I of course I'll take it.
Yeah.
Uh, I think you can do a better. I can think anybody can do a better job with referrals. But I mean, yeah, if you automate something like this, you'll get one or two, at least 1 or 2 referrals a month.
Yeah. So you just give them the data essentially, and then they like plug stuff in to be able to send out.
It's actually already pre-populated for you. You can change the wording if you want, but yeah, it's just you type in your name, your phone number, your email at the bottom. It's all the message is already pre-populated and you send it out and that's it.
That's so cool. We're definitely gonna start using that because that's awesome, man. And that do those ask for referrals or no? Like the
There is a
cards?
referral card. Yeah, so you can choose which cards you want to send out, like a thank you card, congratulations card, referral card. Um, and then at key times during the year, they're going to get happy birthday or whatever, happy holidays or whatever. So you get to pick and choose which cards you want sent out throughout the year.
Gotcha. Okay. And then do you write any direct express card or what's your thoughts on that?
No, no, I, no, I stay away from that. I'm trying to get away from, personally, I'm trying to move away from GI business altogether just because it's just tough business, man.
Yep.
A lot of chargebacks. You know, I'll if I can't get somebody approved on a modified plan with some of these bigger companies like, SBLI, Baltimore Life or something. I mean, Prosperity, I'm gonna have a very serious conversation. I'm gonna try to talk people out of buying a GI. Um, just because, man, it just unfortunately, it's just the chargeback thing is, and some people do well. I don't know. Personally, the chargebacks are
Yeah, I
through the
feel like
roof on GI.
that's
Yeah.
yeah. And direct
And so
express it
that's
seems
where,
like.
well, that was my point. There's that symbiotic relationship between GI coverage and direct express. So I'm like, dude, as soon as they tell me they have direct express only, I'm like, okay. Um, I'll dive very quickly into their health history, just to shortcut the pitch. So,
What are you getting that information, like the direct express or bank account information? Like in terms of
man,
like
honestly, dude, I feel
if they have a direct express card or stuff.
yeah, dude, I try to feel it out. Honestly, man, I can probably tell you like after so many reps, and this is what I tell every agent, man, you want to become a master at this, get your reps in, get as many reps in to the point where you can actually predict what's going to happen in the next few seconds of the call, just based on how the conversation has gone so far. And I feel it out. I mean, I can tell you like in the first few seconds of the call, I can tell you what type of client that person is. I can probably make a bet and win that bet and let you know if they're going to have a direct express only card in probably the first 2 minutes of the call. And so I personally, man, I kind of feel it out. I don't bring up if I have a suspicion that they're going to be a direct express, type paying type of client, then I'm going to I'm going to try to bring that up front, obviously, so I don't have to go through the entire
Yeah.
pitch and the entire app. Dude, I mean, you get to the point. Look, it's final. This is exactly why I love final expense, because every sale is pretty much the same. You got the same objection, same three, four, five objections. I mean, you know exactly, again, if you can get to the point where you're like, okay, I know this type of person, I know what's going to happen in the next few seconds of the call, and that's when you can start to really win at a high level.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. And then are you only writing carriers with true social security billing?
No, no, absolutely not. I'll write. I mean, I've only written four different companies last year, but I mean, I'm not, there's some specialty products out there that I'll write. I don't, I'll figure, I mean, I'll figure out a way to figure out a way to make it make sense for them in terms of payment. Again, it's got to be a routing account number, not direct express, but no, absolutely not.
Gotcha. Okay. So how do you make sure that they're like the payments in there when that time is coming? Like, do you do any follow-ups in that or not really?
No. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, I don't want to do any follow-up. If the payment's actually going to be in there,
Yeah.
no. I mean, I'll follow up on an NSF or whatever, but no, I don't do anything extra personally.
Gotcha. Okay. And then how's that conversation go if it's a non-sufficient funds?
Yeah, I mean, I'll call them and I'll say, "Hey, do you need to move the payment date?" I'm not gonna make them feel bad about it. I'm like, "Hey, it looks like this not last payment might have not gone through. Do you need to move that payment date?" "Oh, yeah, yeah, I actually do." "Oh, okay. Well, when do you need to move it to?" "Sometime this month, next month, 3 months from now." I'll just actually go with, like, do the ridiculous date. I'll date it 2 months. I'll be like, "Hey, do you need to make this change 2 months from now and 3 months from now?" Again, I'll kind of lean into that objection because obviously they're struggling.
Yeah.
And usually they come back with, "No, no, 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 3 months, that's too long. Let's push it out to next month." Okay, well, we can't really push it out this plan on this this payment to all the way to next month, but here's what we can do, and I'll go through options with them. Maybe I get them a better price plan or whatever. I don't know, but I will never make them feel bad about it, and I'll say, "Hey, do we need to move the payment date even to 3 months from now?" Because that'll alleviate the pressure. Oh, this guy doesn't want to try to hammer me for this payment right now. He's talking about 3 months from now. And they'll usually counter with, "No, no, no, let's do it for later this month or next month."
Okay. And then obviously like that's most carriers won't push that payment back, right? Like they need that payment.
Correct.
So
Correct.
how's that go?
Correct. So initially, what I'm going to do is, again, make it seem like I can do any payment date, which is true. Look, dude, if we have to get a new carrier with a new payment date, that's what we're going to do if you can't make the payment right now. But
Yeah.
initially, I always like to, like, I always view myself as, like, you ever go to a hotel and you had really bad service, like, because you didn't get the room you wanted, and you just got bad service or
Yeah.
whatever, right? Everybody's had that experience at a hotel. That's the worst type of experience because dude, you're you're a traveler. You may be tired, you may be excited because you're at this hotel, whatever the situation is, but you want good service.
Yep.
So the hotel that wins is the hotel that provides amazing service and tells you what you want to hear, even if that it's not a reality. For example, let's say they're out of the rooms you want, and out of the upgrade. The good hotel manager or whatever is going to say, "Let me check for you first. I'm going to do everything I can to see if we can," even though he knows ahead of time, dude, all these rooms that he wants, they're booked. He's not getting these rooms. "Let me check for you, sir. I'm going to do everything I can to see what I can do." And that's true. I'm going to do everything I can to see what I can do on my end to help you get what you want. Even though I know ahead of time that, dude, this thing's probably going to lapse. We're probably going to have to get a new company or rewrite this thing. I'm going to say, "Hey, let's see what I can do on my end to help you push this payment date out." And then we'll have that. Again, I'm just trying to move the needle, not get them angry, upset, or or have them hang up on me. Hopefully that makes sense.
Does. So then if they were to say, okay, a month and a half, 2 months from now, um,
Okay, good.
what's that look like? They're like, all right, cool. So obviously
Okay,
it's probably gonna lapse.
yeah, I'm probably it's gonna lapse. I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna have that real conversation. I'm gonna agree with them. I'm gonna say, okay, that's great. I'm gonna make them feel good about their decision. I'm not gonna make them feel bad. But
Yeah.
then I'm gonna give them the reality check. Hey, this is gonna lapse. But I'm always gonna make them feel good. Most agents make the mistake of making people feel bad about their decisions. It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Like,
So
dude,
then you
make
do
them
that,
feel
and what do you
good.
like that like most carriers won't like if you were to even rewrite the policy, it won't go like 2 months out. So like do you just set up follow-up time to call them and just save their information and then rewrite the
Absolutely.
app?
I'll put them on the calendar. And that's my point, man. Like you want a big enough pipeline to the point where you have, again, your calendar filled up because of whatever, dude. NSFs, follow up. You got anniversary coming up. You got new leads coming in. You got old leads you're working. You need a big enough pipeline of leads. So you will never, even if you come across a lead that's like click, you're not going to be like freaking out. Oh my gosh, I got to hammer this lead over and over again because I don't have any other leads. No, dude, put it away in a rainy day file and just move on. I'm not gonna be one of those guys that just hammers the same lead over and over again. I'll call that lead back, but it might be a month from now when nobody else is calling.
Yeah. Man, I've really enjoyed the conversation in terms of your approach. It's funny because just selling final expense, it's like you got to be built different to be able to sell it at a high clip. And it's funny because you get the inside jokes of like the what especially when you're like the guaranteed issue with the direct express, like nobody like can understand that except like if you're actually doing it and in the trenches. So
Yeah, totally, totally.
yeah, man. Well, dude, so I know you're building and building your team. Where can people reach out and find you and reach out if they want to work with you specifically?
Yeah, man. I mean, you can find me on social, Roman V Koval. It's the same pretty much everywhere. So yeah, reach out, dude. If you need anything with coaching, I also offer one-on-one coaching. If you need that, or if you're looking to join a team, feel free to reach out and we can at least have, at the very least, have a conversation on opportunity.
Let's go. Well, if you guys haven't already subscribed to the channel right now, drop in the comments down below what you guys are going to take from this, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.